Today, I ran into a friend I haven't seen in 15 years, and actually he didn't even know I existed. We weren't really friends, but we did go to the same school, Berklee College of Music. I always knew about this guy who was a few years ahead of me. Fast forward years later, social media is a thing. We get connected, and let's just say this is sort of like going back to school. We talk all about higher education learning, what it's like to go to a music college, what we actually learned, and putting our skills on display. It was honestly so vitalizing. From improvisation to music theory, ear training, it is all covered in this masterclass, I would call it. Rob's an incredibly humble and talented person. I can't wait for you to meet him. Also, check out Guitar Super System, my learning platform for guitar players, if you're interested in any of the music theory that we get into, because, spoiler alert, all that I learned at Berklee, I put into this app, along with my own flair. Use the link in the description to get a 50% discount on Guitar Super System. Thanks for your support. And now, the modern day Trey Anastasio, the modern day Wayne Krantz. I hope he doesn't mind me saying those things. Rob Compa, everybody. But it's fun.
It's super fun.
Rob Compa. The first time that I learned who you were, I was in a dingy Halloween party in Allston, Massachusetts. It was like 2009, I want to say.
Okay.
Beer everywhere,
Yeah.
people in scantily clad clothing. I believe I was wearing a Tom Cruise outfit, like a flight jacket that I stole from my dad because he was in the Navy.
Okay.
I hear this glorious sound from down in the cellar. Crawl down into that place, down through the labyrinth, and all these bodies. It's about 12 degrees hotter down there, which is good because it was, even though it was October, I remember that was a freezing cold Halloween time.
Oh, yeah.
And it was you playing, and I'm not sure which iteration, which band you may have been with. I remember seeing you with a PRS semi-hollow,
Yeah.
or hollow body. Was it a semi-hollow or hollow body?
Oh, I still got it. Hollow body too.
Hollow body too?
Yeah.
Okay.
It stays safe at home most of the time at this point.
I remember hearing you play, and I was like, dang. As cliche as it is, it's like a really inspiring thing. A lot of inspiring things happen around the Berklee campus, which is the city of Boston, but I'm appreciative of you educating me with your licks back in the day.
Thanks.
Yeah, dude.
It's nice to know because you're never thinking about that in the moment. You're just a kid who wants to have fun and play guitar.
Yeah.
And then after the fact, if anybody liked it and it meant anything to them, you're like, oh, good.
Yep. Great. Nice.
Because if you think about that in the moment, you'll go nuts.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You should just play and have fun because it's what you want to do. So it's nice to know. Thank you.
Yeah, you were certainly playing and having fun. And it's funny, so, you know, all these years later, social media comes around and I see your name pop up over the years and I'm like, Rob Compa, I remember that guy. And then you start your band Dopapod. I think there was a band before that. Does it start with an F?
Frit.
Frit?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I remember a couple of my friends showed me that music. It was right up my alley. It was kind of like, felt like, tell me if I'm misremembering this, but it reminded me of like a funky Wayne Krantz mixed with Fish or...
Yeah, I suppose all of those things would be in there. Like, I love Wayne Krantz and I love Fish. That would probably be cited as my favorite band ever.
Okay.
But that was also... You know, I'm sure you remember this, like, when we were going to Berklee, like, almost everyone was obsessed with Soul Live and Lettuce.
Yes.
Like, you couldn't not be.
Uh-huh.
Like, that album Rage had just come out, and the keyboard player in Frit and in Dopapod, too, they were both obsessed with Soul Live.
Yeah.
Loved him. And all of us were obsessed with John Scofield, especially guitar players. I mean, almost everybody is. Frit and early Dopapod, like, we kind of just were trying to sound like that because you're a kid and you don't know what you want to sound like yet. So you're like, well, how about that? Let's do that.
Yeah.
You know?
This is proven to work.
Yeah.
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool little origin from there to here, which is you start with your influences and now you've ascended to a place of Rob Compa-ness. Do you think you found your voice on the guitar? I know it's a never-ending search, but
I don't know. You know,
you're still looking.
I feel like if I did think I had, then it would actually mean the opposite in reality.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
Like if I'm so confident in my uniqueness, then I probably have my head in the clouds or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I do think that I've stopped caring whether or not I'm unique enough, which is probably good. If you're trying extra hard not to sound like your influences, because when you're young, you don't care. You're like, oh, of course I sound like them. It'd be like trying to say you don't look like your mom or your dad.
Yeah.
Like, who are you fooling?
Mm-hmm.
But then you get a little older and you sort of like, you're like, no, I don't want to sound like them because, like, I have too much respect for them and I have too much respect for myself and I want to have my own sound. And then, ironically, you end up sounding maybe even less like yourself,
right?
Because you aren't playing what's like in your heart or in your soul. Like, you'll have something you want to play and you're like, stop yourself. You're like, I can't play that because my favorite guy would have played that.
Yeah.
Or girl or whoever. When all the while you should have just played whatever you wanted, even if it did sound a little like somebody else. Like, if you meant it, play it, regardless of if it sounded like someone else or not.
It's a pendulum where you find your influences, you sound just like Jimi Hendrix, and you fly all the way to the other side. You're like, I can't keep doing that 5 bend 7 bar 5/5.
Oh,
you know?
Like, the big one for me, because I'm a huge Trey Anastasio fan, is he always bends the 6 up to the flat 7. Like if he's in A minor.
Yeah, that one.
I still am like, don't put that.
It's those little notes. Yeah, instead of, I won't be as bluesy if I do this.
Yeah.
That sounds like all the blues stuff, but. Oh, nice. Now I have an entire new sound that only I have. Oh, wait.
Yeah. Being a huge Fish fan, I played that hollow body that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Which I love that guitar. It's so great. But, I mean, I got it when I was like 18 because I wanted a guitar like Trey had, and he played a big full hollow body. And nobody could afford one of those. You still can't. But I could get one of those. I got the PRS one.
Yeah.
And as much as I love it, luckily I have drifted into like solid body guitars with whammy bars, which I'm sort of starting to find myself in a little bit.
Okay.
Like, I'm starting to find some things I really like in there.
Yeah, no whammy in Trey's repertoire as far as I know.
No. And I don't know, it's like the whammy bar thing, and same with slide playing, I feel like is a little like this too, even though I don't play much slide anymore, is like, there aren't really like books on how to do it. You just goof with it and have fun with it until like you find some cool stuff.
It incorporates into your sound almost.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a spot of kind of like honest, good fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're not getting out a book and being diligent or anything. You're just like sitting and like watching TV and goofing with your whammy bar and seeing what kind of things you find, you know? And maybe some of them are personal, I don't know.
When you pick up a guitar and you're like trying to get sounds, do you have go-to licks or chords or riffs?
I feel like I'm usually an A. Do you know what I mean? Like
You have a go-to key. I'll use this when I'm trying to figure out like a guitar's intonation or something. And I'll feel like, how far up can I go?
Yeah, see if it sounds in tune all up the neck. Totally. I like those triad pairs too. Yeah, that's cool.
We both went to Berklee, as we said. I feel like sometimes people will praise higher education music and sometimes people will go the other way where it's like that saps creativity and soul. Mm-hmm. I don't think either of them are 100% right. I think it's really what you make of it.
Yeah.
So what are some of the music theory sides of the equation that you took from school and brought to your professional career?
I mean, anything involving like ear training
Yeah.
It was just humongous. But it was kind of like a sort of like two-pronged front, because you're taking all these harmony classes, which was just the most interesting thing in the world to me. Like, I loved all the harmony classes and everything. And then ear training is like how to hear all that stuff that you're simultaneously also being taught in harmony class.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, one without the other kind of doesn't work. And I really got lucky because, especially with the ear training stuff, because, like, maybe within the first week or two I got to Berklee, I got this gig playing at, like, a Baptist church, playing, like, old gospel songs. And I didn't know anything about that music. I still don't claim to. But for some reason, they let me come and play. Like, one of the guys on my floor, he was like, yeah, I got this gig. I'm going to be, like, the musical director at a church every Sunday. And I was like, oh, I love gospel music. I want to come play. And he was like, yeah, you want to come play? Like, it was as easy as that. But they never told me the names of the songs. They never told me what the chords were. They never told me anything. And it was all very, like, almost like Ray Charles-y, like lots of secondary dominant chords and substitute dominant chords and modal interchange chords. Like, all the stuff we were learning right then and there. And I got to, like, kind of be challenged with hearing all of it. Because no one was explaining any of it to me. I remember the first time I went, I was like, do you have charts? Like, as if I could have read them anyways. And they were like, just don't play anything and listen the first time through. And then, like, once you get what the chords are, then play along. And it worked. After, like, 3 years of doing that, like, my ears were in pretty good shape. And then what to do with all those chord progressions. Like, if you're improvising over secondary dominant chords, like, what scale works with all of them?
Yeah.
What scales shouldn't work, but you still like them?
Uh-huh.
How to react to what other people play. And all that harmony and stuff is almost like the closest thing to spidey sense that we get as improvisers. Like, if you're in the key of G and it goes to E7. Now, there's no way to, like, I can't see the future, but it's an extremely high likelihood it's going to go to A minor. And I know that it could also go to C major because it's the same thing as A minor. But it doesn't have to. It could go, maybe it would go to F major. Like, it could go a lot of places, but you're sort of like a smaller percentage is going to go to, like, the 4 chord. Maybe it'll go to 4 minor. You know what I mean? So then as an improviser, you're kind of, like, ready for anything.
It's hard for beginning students to realize that these are only meant to describe things. It's not a prescriptive thing where here I am here. If I'm in G, I have to be here, or I have to be here.
It's just an explanation, yeah.
What is ear training, if you had to describe it to someone who doesn't know?
Just playing with other people, you know, but, like, I kind of think it's, like, nice to, we could try it.
Yeah.
Just, like, if I play chords but don't stay necessarily in a key and don't tell you what they're going to be, and then you just, because most chords that we have, like, most of them are usually, one can either be a question or an answer.
Yeah.
And by that point, like, you can kind of rely on nerdy theoretical stuff, or you can just, like, get by instinct too. You know, so it's like you never know what's going to come next, and then it's like, because your ears aren't perfect anyways, it's almost more like how do you do it gracefully when you inevitably find yourself in a situation where you don't know what's going on or what chord it is. You know?
And that's
it's part of, like, how do you make your ear better, and also, like, when your ear is not good enough, how do you still sell it anyways?
And there's a lot of things to rely on in that situation. Touch, I think, is important.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, and a little bit of rhythm. We were pretty freeform there, but there was still a sense of time, I think. Even if that means feeling the person, you know, who's across from you, like, all right, where are we going to go?
Yeah.
Like a kind of ebb and flow.
Especially with that exercise, it's nice to have, like, room to breathe and get used to whatever sound you've just landed on. We also used to, like, when I lived in, like, Alston with friends and stuff, we would just, like, we'd all be in a room hanging out, probably drinking like 40s or something.
Oh yeah, Edward 40 Hands.
Oh, and we would just play weird chords with like our backs turned, and everybody would try to guess what the chord is and every note in it.
These are the things that music nerds do.
Drink 40s and
drink 40s and guess 13
and analyze chords.
Yeah. That's when you know you've made it. Yeah. You're sitting there half drunk on a
and
on
I guess I
steel
made
reserve.
it in 2006 then. Yeah.
Look at dude. Only uphill where you're still climbing.
Yeah. It also kind of helps get the guitar out of the way. Like the guitar is a little irrelevant at that point. It's just the thing that you play your ideas on. But if it's in your vocal cords to begin with, then it just goes from there.
You're a really great singer.
I don't know about that, but thanks.
Well, I wonder if you took the same approach as someone like Jimi Hendrix or something, where it's like, I don't want to deal with finding a singer. I'm just going to do it myself, and I'm going to learn. I'm going to get better. Or were you always just like, I know you have influences of frontmen who sing as well, but
yeah.
Is there anything to that as far as your band leadership over the years, being like, I'm gonna take this role on too, because you're an incredible guitar player, but the singing is just another layer to it. Do you ever find that those two combat heads, or is it always been seamless and working together?
I think they only help one another. But first off, I wouldn't call myself like a band leader. You know, I was happy just being the guitar player in the band.
Yeah.
But eventually, we used to be all instrumental, like the first 2 records we made, and then we started getting bored. You know what I mean? Like we were like, I don't want to make more instrumental music. You know?
Right.
It's like it's boring, you know.
Yeah.
And I like writing lyrics a lot too. It's really enjoyable for me. So I was excited to have that, you know. And I had always sung because when I started playing guitar, like I didn't get into guitar to like solo at first or like be like have like prowess on the guitar. I just wanted to like I wanted to play Wonderwall or something, you know? Like I just wanted to strum and sing.
Yeah.
So I was doing that from a really young age. Like that's what I started doing, because that's what my dad did around the house. He would just like sing Bob Dylan songs, and he would have notebooks and notebooks of just songs he wrote for fun.
Oh, cool.
So that was around like, and that was pretty normal for me. So that's what I started doing. And I was in musicals and stuff. I was in The Music Man. I was in the Barbershop Quartet and The Music Man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right
on, and we did Little Shop of Horrors, and I was the voice of the plant.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Which was great, because I got to sit in the orchestra pit in a beanbag chair with a microphone, and I didn't have to memorize my lines. I just got to sing in a bluesy voice. I think I thought I was a better singer than I was, because, you know, like when you're singing alone at home, like you're like, I'm in tune.
Right.
And then we started writing lyrics and singing and tried to sing harmonies, and it was really rough for a while, and it still is sometimes. And I quickly found out, like, I was like, no, you're a guitar player and then a singer for sure. I'm very okay with that, though. I'll play simple melodies on guitar and try to, like, harmonize with myself, with my voice. So, like... kind of a neat.
It sounds great, dude. It sounds like you're part of the equation here. You must have been doing this for a while.
I think that's kind of a fun exercise. I don't know if I get anything out of it, but it's fun.
You have a really interesting jazz vocabulary that I've picked up on. Obviously, there's a lot of cool understanding of more traditional changes, but just what we've talked about already, you have a real strong jazz understanding. And
yeah, I love
I was
that
just
stuff.
wondering, so do you think that came from not only learning at school, but transcribing like horn solos, for example? I hear a lot of that saxophone kind of lines in your playing.
It started there for sure, because my teacher, my first semester, you know, you had to like pick a piece to play at like your proficiency or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Is that what they call it?
What was yours?
The first semester was like, it was some Charlie Parker tune, and he was like, get this book, the Omni book, and it's just full of Charlie Parker heads, you know, and solos. I had a roommate who was like a super jazz head. He was like a great jazz drummer, and I had never transcribed anything before, and he was just like, man, you're really selling yourself short if you just like kind of like noodle all day. Like learning something by ear will improve like every arena of your musicianship. Like your
It's a good roommate right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, maybe he's right. And then I had to like transcribe a Grant Green solo. I think it was his Stella by Starlight version for like a lab.
Uh-huh.
And it felt so good to know I could do it. Like, because the teacher was like, you got to go do this. And I was like, I don't know if I can. And then I was like, oh my God, I wrote it out and it's on the staff paper and everything and it sounds right. Like, it kind of was like a nice sense of like I accomplished something.
Right.
And so I just kept doing it because it felt good. And I still don't, I'm not like a jazz, like I hardly ever do jazz gigs.
Uh-huh.
It's more like playing over changes and having fun and transcribing stuff. It's like playing video games or something. Like I want to see how far I get before I get a game over. And once I left school too, I kind of like started working even harder because I knew there was more on the line since I was in the real world.
Yeah.
So I started like making myself practice and transcribe and stuff way, way more.
Dominant. Into an F. Now we'll repeat it. Yeah.
That's fun.
That's great, man.
I also like these little clusters too, which is like a little atypical for like regular guitar to me because there's like seconds in there and things.
Those
I
are
like
like
those-
little
that-
spread they're not triads necessarily.
No, they're like
but
clusters because there's like if we're thinking an F, like that's like that'd be like F add 2 to me. This is like almost like a lap steel thing to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you don't play them as chords, then it's to me it's kind of like a little like that to me would be like in the 50s would be like shredding saxophone. That would be like their like finger tapping, you know? You know what I mean? It's kind of neat too because if you have like a second there on guitar, we're used to having to sacrifice the first note to get to the second. Like we would our first instinct would be to play it on the same string probably. But it's more even a piano kind of thing because they could play close intervals like that and have all of them ring out at the same time and you get that kind of wind chimey thing. Where on guitar, our first instinct would be to play it like that.
Mm-hmm. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is sort of similar to what you.
I always think of I love that part of the Little Wing passage.
It's the best part.
Yeah.
But I've always tried to find that exact interval in solos. but that's really a cool way to think about guitar too, is like I'm listening for sounds, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a minor second interval, but it can be accomplishing that same feel. And I think that's what influence is recreating a feeling that you get from someone who's inspired you.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe it's not this exact thing, but it comes out in a way that pleases you, and you're like, oh, that actually feels musical to me, even though it's maybe the most off-the-wall thing.
And sometimes, too, like, if you're playing, like, a long 2-set show, and if you're a band like us where you're improvising a lot and you kind of, like, don't want to repeat yourself too much, sometimes you'll just play anything you haven't already played that night.
Yeah.
Just to be like, what haven't I done yet? So, like, sometimes, like, I think I just did this the other night. Like, I was tired of just comping regular chords, and I was just playing seconds in the key that we were in. Like, I don't know, maybe we were in A Dorian. It wouldn't surprise me. We're a jam band,
Yeah, there
but
you
like,
go.
you know what I mean? Just still making the sound fuller under a soloist is still doing it.
Yeah.
I remember the moment I figured out it was cool to like.
Well, yeah, you're starting to move it up now a little bit.
Well, yeah, because you can go up the scale. Like if I'm in A Dorian, you can harmonize the whole scale with it, Oh, sorry.
Dissonance ever played.
But ironically, every note's
still beautiful.
Every note's in the right key, except for the time I played F natural by accident. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And that's fine too.
I had a teacher, Dave Tronzo, and
I had him too.
Oh, really?
He's great.
He's
scary.
I think he might be the best. He plays slide in standard, but he would just do.
Yeah.
But he's like root third seventh,
Yeah. Yeah.
But accompanying yourself and thinking about the intervals and thinking about the way the notes impact the chords, but also trying to be musical with it, and actually everything was musical and not an exercise.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, let's make this, even if it's the most simple thing, like that's just a diatonic 1, 2, 3, 4.
His whole thing was triads too.
Yeah.
Like he was like, everybody learns all these fancy chords with all these notes in them, and then they skip the triads, and they should have started there.
Yeah, you're saying triads are important?
Yeah.
That's been what I've been preaching. I think between him and Tomo Yoshida, who I also had, who's still a friend of mine, the triad thing.
Yeah.
Whether closed or spreads, it's just an invaluable tool.
Yeah. I'm still trying to get the hang of what to do with the spread ones. Do you know
the
what I mean?
spread ones I definitely use for more like songwriting things.
Yeah, I feel like when I try to use it with a band, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. We already got a bass player and we got somebody up high.
Right.
But if I'm goofing around alone, do you know Randy Runyon? He was another Berklee guitar player.
Oh, yeah. Great singer, too.
Amazing. But one time we were playing, and he was like, well, I use spread triads in my soloing, too. And he did it in this, like, incredible way where, like, it disguised that it was spread triads. It just sounded like he was playing kind of angularly, but in the key. But he was only using all that stuff. And, like, over changes, too. And to this day, I can't figure out how he did it.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of practice went into that.
Yeah. He might have gotten it from Tim Miller. I think that was his teacher.
The spread triads, I end up turning them into dyads a lot of the time. But like...
Oh, like tenths and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Which is just, it's the most basic shapes.
Yeah.
But if you have this, you can change them. But it turns out that sometimes the most simple form serves the songwriting.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I found the most useful spread voice triads in my playing, and then if I try and use them like you friend Randy, I end up sounding like a shitty Eric Johnson.
I know, that's the thing, right?
Just like,
sometimes I like it almost just as like, even if I don't use them per se, it helps me look at chord progressions a little differently.
yeah.
Like, I'll take like a tune that I like that has cool chords, and if I try to find like, use spread triads and move my hand as little as possible and just have like really smart voice leading. All of me, why not take all of me? Na 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 ba da 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 ba 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 da 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 da. Like, we know all those block kind of voicings, but then if you try to do like, and then maybe I'll go to A, and then to D. Oh my God! All I have to do is move those two fingers. Do you know what I mean? You really see what's like the mechanics of it are apparent.
As guitar nerds, you're just like, oh yeah. It's like you beat a video game level.
Yeah, totally. And then you're like, oh, and then it goes to E7, and these two notes just have to go down a half step. And then what else can we do after that? I mean, maybe we could do. And then D7. And then maybe we'll do something weird. Maybe we'll do like... That's technically G augmented right now. Yeah. You know? So I kind of like it for that purpose. Even if I'm never going to use it, it helps me like have a new appreciation for something. Do you know what I've been doing lately that has like almost no practical purpose for me yet? I don't know, maybe someday. Mm-hmm. But it just helps me look at like stuff I already know in a totally different way on the fretboard.
What's that?
Taking like, you know, we all did all our arpeggios like, and there's the inversions. Like, I've done that. But I found this little like YouTube video where it's saying to do, if you do, and then all of a sudden you're looking at it super horizontally.
Yeah.
And you could do the same thing with the inversion. So it's like 3 notes on every string, and it's every other string. And then I could do first inversion. What would be after that?
You got that minor second thing that hit right there too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I've never looked at a minor second and seen it look anything like that before.
That's a sweet minor second right there.
You know, the most pretentious of all minor seconds. But I don't know, it's just fun to like keep a guitar in your hands at all and still feel like a kid with it. Even if I'm probably never gonna do that in front of people, I'll probably fall on my face if I try.
You should do it tonight.
Right? Shouldn't
at the show.
But it's nice to take like, I mean, how many times have I played a C major 7 arpeggio, and I could still like find a new way to look at it and be like, wow, that's C major 7, super interesting again all of a sudden.
rock.
Oh, you rock, man. That was fun.
Ripping it up.
Fuzz has been kind of my new, like...
I like this one. It's sort of like Joe Satriani, Super Colossal. This thing's addicting. The key is you have to have it on the neck pickup so it can do the...
That's badass.
With the tone rolled back.
Oh, cool. I have an octave fuzz that Maxon gave me years ago. It's called a Void, and it's like, we all think of like Hendrix when we hear octave fuzz, but it's like more like that mixed with like Sonic Youth or something. Like it's like really grungy. It's awesome.
Fuzz is very hard to find. Sometimes I'll be like, this is the fuzz. Yeah. And then I'll like return to it. Yeah, and I'll be like, how did I ever like this?
Well, I kind of think like the key with me is like it's supposed to sound sort of bad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I've tried a couple that were like a little too pristine, and I was like, what? That's just distortion.
I like it to sound a little broken.
Your parents shouldn't like it.
Yes. You know? Your mom should come in and be like, yo, what is that?
You're grounded.
Are you sure that that's...